Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jamcracker live webcast, how Microsoft partners can maximize profits and get to market faster from the Microsoft CSP program. Today, we have a very exciting presentation planned. Before we get started, there are a few housekeeping items I would like to bring to your attention. In the panel to your right, you are able to ask questions at any time, and we encourage you to do so. As part of the presentation today, there will be a live demo of Jamcracker's Cloud Services Enablement solution, providing a step-by-step overview of how to streamline and automate your cloud services delivery with order management, provisioning, and order-to-cash processes. This webcast is part of our monthly series. Today we have Ash Balgat, Vice President of Product Marketing, and Bob Bellabo, Director of Sales Engineering, as your presenters. So let's get started, gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're based. My name is Ash Balgat. I lead product marketing at Jamcracker, and I'm having my colleague here, Bob, who's going to be showing us some exciting demos about the stuff that we're going to talk about today. So I think that today's topic is very interesting, the one that I'm really excited about, and it's about Microsoft CSP partners and how they can maximize revenue as well as profits in the Microsoft CSP program opportunities, as well as how can they add value to the customer's business so that they can differentiate themselves as well as move up the value chain. So it's a pretty loaded agenda, I know that, but there's a lot of interesting stuff that I hope you guys learn from that. And if you have any other questions, concerns, do reach out to us. We'll give you some contact information at the end of the webinar. So the agenda I want to touch upon today is, first of all, a little bit about the market dynamics, a little bit what's going on in the market, in the general cloud services provider market. What about what the end customer needs are? We talk about that a little bit in the market dynamics. We will talk about the CSP, Microsoft CSP program. What are the needs for the partners, and what are the critical success factors that we have learned by engagement with our kind of current customer base, which is mainly partners. Then we'll dive a little bit into what is Jamcracker, who is Jamcracker. If you guys are not familiar with us, we'll talk about that a little bit. Follow that, I want to touch upon a little bit about our platform called as Jamcracker Platform and what are its Microsoft CSP enablement capabilities. So we'll talk about that a little bit. It's a pretty rich platform, and I'm sure you guys will be really excited to learn about it more, and then we can follow that further into the demo to show the real capabilities. And then I would wrap it up with a little bit more discussion on how can partners move up the value chain, because that's, I think, very important as all of these partners are looking to resale. What is the differentiation? How can you be really adding more value to your end customer's business that will keep that relationship going? I think that's really the meat of this presentation, if I can call that. And then finally, I would like to summarize with the key takeaways, and if any questions, we can talk about that. So let's dive into the market dynamics a little bit. I'm sure most of you folks have seen this chart. It's one of the Gartner charts out there. They did a survey of about 6,700 companies, mostly enterprises, and they asked us the questions about what are the kind of cloud services, if any, if the enterprises are consuming. And the survey is a little bit dated right now. It was at the end of 2015. I haven't seen the latest one. But what came out of that was about 58% of the enterprises are already using some form of cloud. So it could be a IaaS cloud, a PaaS cloud, or a SaaS cloud, and it could be a public or private cloud. So there's a lot of different color to that. And the numbers on an aggregate are 58%. But what we have seen in our interaction with our kind of the end customers through our partners is that 80% of these enterprises are currently using cloud services. In fact, we spoke to a few CIOs of these companies, and we learned that cloud has started even before the CIOs knew about it, which is the cloud sprawl phenomena, as we all see today, right? So cloud is everywhere, and it's never to go away. It's going to get this more and more dominant in its adoption going forward in enterprises. One of the things I want to just take attention, kind of bring your attention to is what is happening in the cloud services market now. So one is on the end user side, which we talked about before. On enterprises, the cloud adoption is everywhere. But what's happening in the cloud service provider market, especially focused on IaaS here, you can see that from on the left-hand side, there's a magic quadrant for 2015 about the IaaS market. On the right-hand side, I have a magic quadrant for 2016 for the IaaS market. And what you can see is between 2015 to 2016, there were a lot of players basically that were out there. Some of them were visionaries. Some of them were kind of niche players. Of course, the market has kind of consolidated and shrunk a little bit in terms of the number of players, not the size, but the number of players. So which is what you see in 2016. And clearly, there are kind of three leaders in the IS market right now. One is, of course, the AWS, Microsoft being the second in this market, of course, coming in later, but coming strongly, and then Google computing being the third one. Well, I think what is really clear and kind of pretty interesting here to note is that Microsoft has caught pretty quickly to AWS in terms of the kind of the cloud capabilities with Azure, and the CSP program happens to be one of the delivery vehicles. But the technology-wise and the cloud services provider offering-wise, Microsoft has really done a phenomenal job. We were at the WPC last in Toronto in 2016 in the fall, and there are about 16,000 people, partners, and communities all over the world who attended that show. It was a really major show. It was an eye-opener, and I think that was really good to see that Microsoft is gaining so much interest into their technology. So I know I'm kind of preaching to choir in some sense here. A lot of you folks are already believing in this. That's why you're attending it. But essentially what I want to highlight is Microsoft Azure Cloud has now moved closer to AWS and given its incumbency in the enterprise market in terms of what it can do with all enterprise applications and productivity suites. It really has a great shot at really being a leader very soon. It's to be seen, but that's, I think the indications are it's going to be a pretty close race. Now, one thing that just recently was discussed by 451 Research was about 2017 prediction, and this was interesting, so I brought it up here as well. They said that in 2017 you will see a AWS plus one cloud strategy by most of your end customers. And what that means is it's not going to be just one vendor where the enterprises will kind of gravitate towards. It will be at least two. And why that is necessary is because you don't want to be locked in one vendor. You want to keep a multi-cloud strategy, a hybrid cloud strategy, so that you're not at mercy of just one particular provider. Especially because it's getting so much adoption and becoming kind of business critical. The cloud adoption I was talking about. So essentially, the growth in hybrid cloud will also lead to the widespread use of brokerages. Brokerage is typically the kind of the term we use when you have to, allow multiple cloud access to a common single platform, as something that we do at Jamcracker. And that will be kind of a key cornerstone technology required for a lot of these partners or the end customers, whoever would be deploying cloud and wants a multi-cloud or hybrid cloud strategy. So it's just something that we should keep in mind as we see the market evolving on this side of things. So having talked about the market dynamics a little bit, let me touch base a little bit about what is Microsoft's CSP program at a very high level, and I'm sure you folks know this. But let's talk about some of what is the program like, what are the needs for the partners, and then what are the critical success factors that will help you succeed in this market. So I'm sure you folks have seen this chart again at Microsoft and other places. This is basically the chart here in the middle is basically the Microsoft CSP cloud solution provider go-to-market kind of slide, right? Which basically talks about Microsoft wants to sell this through direct partners who are basically one-tier partners, basically like MSPs, SIs, who want to sell directly to the end customer, right? And Microsoft sells through the direct partner in that case. But there's also another channel that Microsoft has, which is indirect channel, which is indirect partner channel, which is through a distributor, which will be selling to a reseller, and the reseller will basically have the end customer relationship. So those are the two vehicles to take the Microsoft Cloud services to the market, to the end customer. And I think a few things that are very important. I think Microsoft called it out very clearly as to what is it that they are looking for the cloud provider, Microsoft CSP partners to do. And that's at the very top here. It's a little small font here. I apologize for that. But essentially it says own and control the billing. So you have to be able to do that for your end customers. Self-combined offers and services. So you should be able to combine different offers and services together and bundle it up. And lastly, but not it's of great importance, that is directly provision, manage, and support your customers. So those are kind of three cornerstones of what you definitely have to do in order to be a Microsoft partner. And some of the requirements in terms of what you have to be able to do in these areas dictate where you can be working with Microsoft as a tier 1 partner, tier 2 partner, etc. And then one of the things at the bottom of this chart I want to highlight here is like Microsoft will provide you cloud services while the partners will add on their own managed services and IP. And that's, I think, very critical from the stuff that we talked initially about, you do provide provisioning, billing support, but also remember that you have to add value to managed services. I think that's the new paradigm of what you can do with your customer through relationships. And the third-party IP that you can sell to the customers in addition to what Microsoft already brings to you as part of the reselling agreement. So let's talk about some of the needs in that sense. Now that we talked about Microsoft CSP Partner Program, what are some of the needs for these partners in order to be able to meet Microsoft kind of requirements for the CSP program? So one of the things is the multi-tier and multi-channel marketplace, and what that means is you should be able to create white label marketplaces. If you are a multi-tier kind of a partner, maybe you have resellers who are doing that. They may need a reseller store of their own that they can offer to the end customers. But let's say if you are a tier 1 partner like an MSP or a SI, a DMR, you may want to think about creating a white label store for each of your enterprise customers, right? And it's probably just makes sense from a better user experience perspective. You may want to enable your resellers. If you are selling to the resellers, you want to sell, provision, bill Microsoft and non-Microsoft cloud services if that's what you're looking at doing. Or you can do it through the white label kind of stores for your resellers. I think we talked about that a little bit before. Cloud billing and settlement is very important. So on one side, you get Microsoft billing you on aggregate, but you have to make sure that you are breaking down that bill for each customer on the demand side of it. But also, not just that, you may have to worry about how do I consolidate all of the billing for all of the different services that you're consuming from Microsoft, and then how do you provide a single bill, a unified consolidated bill to your end customer so they can see what all they have consumed and how much they're paying for it. So that's one aspect of billing. And then settlement between what you consumed from Microsoft to what you sell through to your end customers, and making sure that's reconciling. So that settlement report is kind of also an important thing to consider. Self-service is very important. Your end customers are going to need a on-demand consumption going forward. There are no more pick-pack shipping or provisioning by doing things. A lot of things are shifting to cloud where things just are getting on-demand manner. So consumption is on-demand. So self-service is going to be very important for your customers. Value-added services, we touched upon that a little bit before. We talked about third-party services, if you can sell along with Microsoft, management of your Microsoft and non-Microsoft services, and that means that you have to be able to manage it as a life cycle, not just as a point service, but entire life cycle across all of your different services that are visible to your end customer. You should be able to manage that from a single pane of glass. Cross-sell and upsell opportunities. Again, if you have subscription for certain Microsoft services, can you sell them other services that are in the CSP program, or can you sell them complementary services that are outside of the CSP program, but that might be value-added. Time to market is another important need, as we learned from our partners, is that you want to be able to roll out marketplaces within days, few days, and not months. And also a new web front or a storefront for your customers in few hours. If you can do that, because that's where your time to market will be really a competitive differentiation. And a global rollout of your CSP service. This is especially true for European partners who may have a lot of different geographies and different countries to cover, may having different language, different currencies, taxation environment. All of that is critical for your end customers, so you got to be able to have those capabilities when you're offering the service to your end customers. So having talked about overall what the needs are for Microsoft partners, CSP partners, let's talk about some of the critical success factors as we have learned from a few partners that we have been talking to very intimately. And we see that, in order to really succeed in the CSP market, these are the few things that you definitely have to have, right? And some of them will go back to what Microsoft is expecting, but some of these are real-time learnings, kind of real learnings from the people who have tried this before and have changed paths based on where they fell short before, but then finally came to the point where they knew that they're hitting it now. So one of the things is faster go-to-market. We talked about that. You have to accelerate the rollout of your cloud marketplace in a matter of days. You cannot be, there's no more time basically available where you can roll out something and then, after a few months, and then your competitors would have already had something to offer to your customers. In fact, Microsoft just recently added a API for allowing an end customer to be able to talk to multiple resellers. And what that means is, like, if they can derive value from a couple of resellers, although those might be coming through different distribution channels or could be, even tier 1 partners, that's allowed because at the end of the day, Microsoft wants customers to win. And in that sense, you have to be really up and running quickly in the market with respect to what you want to bring to these customers, or you're going to be leaving money on the table. Single pane of glass, we talked about that from a management standpoint, operations standpoint, governance standpoint of your cloud services, and that's going to be important for your customers from managing all of the subscription or orders, right, or usage-based paradigms of entitlement for your services, billing and settlement for all of these different services, as well as providing the support, knowing where the issues are, being able to raise the tickets, being able to respond to those, having different channels of sales, for example, through chats and things of that nature. All of those are different ways that you want to be able to kind of support your customers or your channels, and that's something that you need in order to be really agile in this particular business. Bundled core and Microsoft CSP services. That's another one where we talk about, Microsoft encourages that, saying that you do not want to just be selling Microsoft services, but also third-party IP and ISV stuff. So definitely have that capability to increase your ARPU, average revenue per user. And with multiple business line segments. This is something that we see with some of our customers where they have not just been talking about one particular segment in the market. They're going after enterprise customers as a high-end market basically for them, and where they might spin up white label, web front or a storefront or a web store for these customers. But they might also have SMB presence by providing a reseller kind of a store where everything is in one place and you don't have dedicated, storefront. So all of that stuff you may have to decide as to what market segment you're going after, and is this the right market for you or not. So having said that, let me shift the gears a little bit now and talk about Jamcracker a little bit and what Microsoft CSP enablement capabilities we have. So folks who don't know us, Jamcracker is we were founded in 1999 by our serial entrepreneur K.V. Chandrasekhar, who started the company. And we started our early days were more on the ASP application service provider market, where we did the aggregation and billing and things of that nature to provide a lot of aggregated ASP services to the channels or to the go-to-market partners. What had happened is in the last 15, 16 years, what we've seen is the market, of course, has evolved from where we began, and now it's become cloud services. So the SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, this is kind of the new reality of consumption of the services in a public sense or a private sense. And I think that's where our strategy also morphed as we moved along with the market, and we are now unifying multi-cloud, hybrid cloud services for management and delivery. We do this end-to-end in a live services kind of management fashion. And essentially, we combine two technology markets that Gartner calls cloud services brokerage and cloud management platform. The cloud services brokerage traditionally focused more on the SaaS side of things, and cloud management platform is focused more on the IaaS side of things. And anything in between is basically covered. We also call something called the XaaS, which is a market that is still not completely invented, but it could be things such as network as a service, such as SDN and FV, or database as a service, storage as a service. Pretty much all of these things that are upcoming. Those are also something that we can. The platform is flexible enough to be able to consume anything as a service in that sense. We were joking around the other day that we can order pizzas from this platform if you want to kind of order pizzas as a service. But leaving that aside, so Jamcracker basically, we're a Gartner cool vendor. We have some great customers, as you can see here. This is a sample names of the customer. We have tier 1 customers, tier 2 customers. For example, First Distribution is our tier 2 customer. It's a gold partner, a Microsoft Gold partner, and they have presence in South Africa, in other regions too. And then there's companies like SCC, which is our tier 1, company out of Europe, UK, and they service large enterprises, and they are an MSP they're going to MSP model. There's a company like Telecom Malaysia, which is a tier 1 telco out of Malaysia in Asia, and then they're also doing both SMB and enterprise stores for their customers. So the landscape is kind of varied here, but I think we have kind of goods and the products and services that we can offer for both tier 1 and tier 2 kind of or direct or indirect Microsoft CSP partners. A little bit about our credibility in the market. If you've seen Daryl Plummer is the chief analyst at Gartner, who covers the cloud services brokerage market at length, and he has given some great kudos to Jamcracker team here. I talked about Jamcracker enables providers, partners, enterprises to interact and deliver robust cloud services. So that's pretty much where we came from, and we've been kind of at this mission. And enterprises, service providers, cloud providers can simplify a complex solution with a single service network approach from Jamcracker. So the platform is called a Jamcracker Services Delivery Network. It's basically, it means that you can deliver all of your cloud services in a single, under a single roof. And you might have a lot of complex situations, such as maybe multi-tier or multi-tenancy requirements, just to name one, or maybe complex billing requirements, and all of that have been something that we already built into our platform. There's probably not a scenario that we haven't covered because we have worked with so many different customers and so many different complexities over a period of time. Quick snapshot into what the architecture of the platform looks like. This is very high-level architecture. We're talking 40,000 feet here. And without spending too much time and drilling into each of the details of this, essentially what we have is a platform that's kind of built into two kind of key layers, if I can call that. One is a services delivery layer, where we actually look at how do we deliver the service, and then second one is service management layer. In the services delivery side of things, we talk about a catalog management, where you'll have a catalog with all the services listed in it. You have administrative controls on what services can be listed for whom. You can pick and choose, if you have multiple stores, which services will be seen in which stores, and all of that is something that is already built into the catalog management. And some of the things can also tie into the service and user administration here with respect to, let's say, if you have a role-based access control tied into that, you can say, okay, as a particular role, I can only do certain things in this catalog management versus not others. You can also do that on the user side, depending on what user's credentials are or what his profile is. Let's say the sales person or HR person or a engineering person, what services and what different cloud services are exposed to those users. So all of that is kind of covered as part of the catalog and user service administration pieces. You can do self-service fulfillment, which means that you can consume all of these services on demand. There's no need to be calling anybody unless you choose to get some support on it. There's authentication, authorization, access control to an identity platform. There are multiple identity platform options, such as access, AD, Active Directory Federation Service from Microsoft, LDP, LDAP. We have SAML. We have Red Hat Directory, Okta, name it, and we pretty much have everything covered in that sense. We have a very robust reporting engine with 50+ reports already built in. We have custom reporting engine where you can build from the data marts. You can build whatever custom report you want. You have budgeting, mirroring, chargeback, all the different mechanisms of how you can see where the cost for the particular usage for cloud services. You have help desk ticketing already built into the product. Now, you can always integrate all of these things outside of the platform into existing systems too. So if you have Remedy for ticketing, we have integration with Remedy. If you're talking about some billing field systems, be the SAPs or ERP systems, we can do that. We've already done that for some customers. So there's a lot of stuff that's on the sidebars here as the integration toolkit that we can easily integrate to for certain, as the requirements might be. On the service management side, there's a little bit more on the IS capabilities here. The one on the service delivery, I was talking more on the SaaS side of things, although there's some common functions there too for IS. But on the service management side, the key things to remember there are, as service management for IS, you're consuming it as usage and not as subscription. So the usage metering becomes important there. Usage analytics become important for governance. Resource management becomes important for day-to-day policy management. And then orchestration in order to build your stacks for IS right from this particular platform is something you can do easily if you have to do that. But that's not a requirement. You can always import existing virtual machines that might be spinning up in the clouds of choice, and then bring it over and start governing those clouds through Jamcracker platform. About the CSP integration part, I want to talk a little bit about that. So specifically, we talked about the platform in general. Let's talk about what do we provide to the Microsoft CSP partners from Jamcracker platform as part of the integration that we did with Microsoft APIs. So essentially, we have 40+ pre-integrated out-of-the-box Microsoft CSP cloud services. Now, these are all different SKUs. So, but at a very high level, basically, there are Office 365 SKUs, Dynamic SKUs, EMS SKUs, Exchange SKUs, etc. So all of this is part of the CSP integration that we've done. On the left-hand side, you see a screenshot. This is from an actual customer, First Distribution, where they have a store running right now with all these different Microsoft services. You have Exchange, Office 365, Skype, OneDrive, Project, et cetera, et cetera. All of these are already available, and they're trying to sell this to their resellers right now. You have multi-tier, multi-tenant marketplaces. We talked about that as it will be applicable in this particular case, but also can be done for one tier or direct CSP partners, where you may want to create a storefront for your enterprise customer to give them a better user experience. You have Microsoft CSP Services provisioning that is automated fully. So just single click to your sign on, and your user gets access to all these services right away. Single sign-on is tied to Active Directory, ADFS for easy access. There are other options that I talked about. We can do billing and settlement for all of these different services. You can have a single consolidated bill. You can have the settlement reports to compare, kind of repeating myself a little bit here, with respect to what has been consumed to what has been supplied. And then localization ready. So if you're looking at a platform that needs to be available for different languages, currencies, taxation codes, etc., you have this already done, because we have customers out of Europe who frequently need this, but we have it all globalized right now for Asia Pac, North America, and Europe. On the Azure side of things, what is integration there? I think you probably have seen some of the names here, the CREST, ARM, Graph APIs that are available from Microsoft. We have integrated all of this functionality into Jamcracker. We have a Microsoft Developer Network agreement, basically, where we get access to all these APIs. We get informed about any changes to the APIs, so we keep in sync with Microsoft on those. And essentially, what you have is APIs to manage automated Azure cloud provisioning, cloud governance in terms of really showing the visibility for the cloud. So that would mean dashboards for what VMs you're running, what volumes you're running, what is the utilization at any point in time, what is the capacity, are there any health monitoring issues, etc. All of that is part of governance that you can easily see. You have interactive charts to do that. You have reports. You have analytics data that you can look into. All of that is part of governance for the cloud. And then cost management is another angle which is important, where you can see that what is the cost, or what is the bill that's coming out, and for using these resources in Azure Cloud, and how can you manage them more optimally. So you can say, okay, I get a visibility that my monthly bill for Azure is $1,000, and say, okay, where is that been spent? Are you spending it optimally? Are you maybe wasting some of the resources when you don't need them? For an example, you might want to apply a policy for cost management, something along the lines of curtail the usage when it's not being used, right? Curtail the waste by shortening anything that is being not used. Shut off those VMs at certain times, turn them on when they're going to be needed, things of that nature. So those are the policies that you can do to the platform. You have billing, of course, and settlement, and then custom pricing and revenue maximization, which means you can create different pricing or literally price books for different customers. So what that means is if you have different kind of customers based on what services they want, how much they order, you may not want to stick to the same pricing that Microsoft offers you. You can mark up your kind of the rates for whatever the resource usage, and then you can offer that to maximize your revenues on your side, but also make sure you're fair to the customers who you're servicing or you're kind of providing services to. And then finally, offer a very superior customer experience. With Jamcracker platform, with our Azure integration, Office 365 integration, you can get a very seamless integration across all of the Microsoft technologies under a single pane of glass. Have a single marketplace or multiple marketplaces and a self-service experience. So that's kind of talking about the platform and the Microsoft CSP capabilities. One of the key things I also want to touch upon here is the billing capabilities, because that's something that Microsoft expects partners to be able to do on their own. And this is really the beauty of Jamcracker platform, that the billing is so rich in so many different ways that you have so many different options to do. Right? As you can see, for just the billing models wise, you can do a subscription-based model if you're consuming a service like Office 365 or Dynamics or EMS. Those are all subscription-based because they're tied to a user. Whereas you might have things as Azure that are all based usage-based. So you might have different billing models in this case. One is tied to subscription, one is tied to usage, and we support both those billing models. You can do one-time billing. You can do hybrid of this, different billing options that you got, depending on what you want, right? So all of these are different options we baked in already into the product. so it's useful. You may want to offer volume-based pricing. I was talking about the tiered pricing before. So let's say you have somebody's consuming, 10,000, let's say out of, let's say for the CSP program, 500 devices or licenses. If somebody's consuming only 50 licenses versus the 500 licenses, there might be different pricing you may want to offer based on the volume. You're trying to incentivize more volume to upsell, for example, if you want to do that. That's part of the your pricing strategy. You may have historical volume discounts. You may see that, hey, this customer is asking, ordering a lot more from me. I would rather offer him some discount. That's an option. You have things such as promotions. So you can talk about, hey, I want to create a 30-day trial promotion, offer these particular new services that I have in the catalog, and let them run for 30 days. And if you are satisfied, then you try and buy kind of model. So that's something that you can offer easily. You can offer preferential pricing. So you can do, based on the customer type, partner type, you can have different prices for different geographies or different types of partners. All of that can be easily managed through our billing module. And finally, not the most important is the payment type. You can do different kind of payment options. You can invoice your customers. You can do credit debit cards if you want to have that. You can have prepaid accounts that I didn't list here. If you have some prepaid credits, or you can have mobile. That's the latest mobile kind of wallet kind of thing, kind of option. There's a lot of different options here from a billing and payment standpoint. So having said that, now I talked about a lot of different products and a lot of different capabilities. I want to switch the gears a little bit and hand off Bob to show some of these capabilities real time, so that you folks just see that what I talked is not just a lot of slideware, but actual stuff that you can see in action. So Bob, take it away.
Okay, very good. Give me a moment here while I share my screen. And, keeping with the theme of maximizing profits and getting to market faster, I want to first start with talking about maximizing profits. And in reality, that gets down to differentiating yourself, adding value so you can get those extra profits, right? And, looking at how do you accomplish that, you offer a variety of services that, while it's important to have all of the Microsoft offerings available, you want to be able to package those up different ways, maybe combining it with some of your professional services, or even, if you look at infrastructure as a service offerings, instead of just providing access to Azure or other clouds like AWS, et cetera, you want to be able to create some, I guess you call them value-added or really best practices templates for your clients. So maybe your company has some expertise in security. And what you'd like to do is, as a value add to your clients, provide templates that have maybe hardened Apache configuration or other policies related to security with some base templates, so that your customers can get started from a place instead of just a generic operating system. They can get started with something that's already been hardened. And so the point here is that you really want to have a variety of service offerings, whether they're singularly offered as a software as a service like Veraware or Office 365 or SharePoint, but then also infrastructure as a service offerings, obviously, the major cloud providers like Amazon, Azure, even private cloud, VMware, OpenStack, CloudStack, those sorts of things. But then you want to be able to bundle them together, such as this one here, a Microsoft 365 bundle, where I just created the sample bundle where you're not only getting Office 365, but you're getting an Office 365 migration. This could be something that talks about, migrating from an on-premise Exchange implementation to Office 365. And so, having the ability to do that and having, different offers per service. So you might want to, actually, that's not a good example here. Let's find Mobility Suite. That's a good one. So, for each of these services, you could have potentially multiple offerings for that service. In this case, I have only one, it's EMS E3, but there's also an E5 package that could appear here as a different price. So whether you want to change the terms, maybe it's having a monthly price or an annual price, or if you want to actually have different feature sets like the E3 versus E5 Enterprise Mobility Suite, creating catalog items for each of those, or maybe a single catalog item with different options, making it easy for your customers to see that is important. So being able to bundle things together, offer a variety of services, maybe just professional services offering, those are the types of things you need. Your catalog needs to be varied, it needs to be differentiated, you need to include your services and any expertise you have, such as in security or mobile or those sorts of things. If you get a really large catalog, it's obviously important to have catalog abilities like being able to search for items and categorize things by a certain type of product or by the provider. Those are all important in the catalog. Right? And not only the product offerings that you have, but whether it's one-time charges, like a migration might be a one-time charge, but you want to have some ongoing charges for an Office 365 subscription. You need to be able to handle all those different sorts of billing models. It could be usage-based with Azure, VMs and data transfer on Azure that gets charged, but based on usage, or it could be per license based, like Office 365 user licenses. You need that flexibility in catalog. The Jim Cracker platform certainly has that, and we've had that for a long time. Another way to differentiate yourself and to really provide some value, I think one of the things we hear about a lot is identity management and being able to federate to different systems. In a large enterprise, obviously, governing the services that you have requires you to have a good identity framework so that you have one place where you're managing your users and you don't have to do it in 30 different systems. And so tying into identity management systems is important. As I switch over here to more of our back end, where we would go and things like set up the different services and the different portals, or as you call member management in the stores, I'll take a look here at one of those stores or portal storefronts where you have the capability to brand these and white label those that Ash had mentioned earlier, and change a lot of settings, including what's available in the store, what are the different policies in that store. But looking at, for instance, identity management, as I was mentioning, you can enable that, and whether you want to sync with Active Directory or use a SAML-based approach, for more of a federated service like this ADFS or Okta or others. We have the capability of doing that. So, here if I enable AD, I could enable all the different parameters to allow that, do the mapping to make sure I know what groups or attributes in Active Directory get mapped to what in Jamcracker. You have the ability to do that on a per organization basis. Here I'm looking at a store that's set up for an individual organization. Obviously, you'll need to attach into their Active Directory. And there are various options too, since you're going to be generally outside of their firewall. There's going to be some things to be concerned with there with security. So we would deploy a Jade agent, which basically avoids the Active Directory firewall ports being open, but actually using a custom agent that would stream that in a more secure fashion. So identity management at each store level is important. It allows you to not only come in and access the services within the store. It could be something that they're using just generically for their organization. They come in, they sign into the PC, they single sign on, and now they have access to everything, whether it's cloud services or other network features they have, other local resources. It could be signing into some of the services that they have, maybe launching Office 365 remotely. Whether you're and there's a lot of, I'm not saying whether, there are a lot of different ways this can be sliced and diced with Active Directory and federating. Who's the identity provider? Jamcracker could be that. It could be somebody else. Single signing on is important. So there's a lot of flexibility in our platform supporting various identity models, regardless of the protocols in use. Whether it's SAML or even OAuth, it really doesn't matter. Identity management and being flexible on that is very important, and is one way you can help differentiate yourself. Now, looking at, if you're trying to bring clients in and win them over, you oftentimes are going to be dealing with clients who already have some Azure virtual machines out there, or Amazon, or even their own VMware again. And so you need to be able to support those brownfield situations as well as the greenfield ones where, it's a company that's just coming up for the first time. They maybe don't have any cloud accounts. You need to be able to support both methods. So either you just, create an account in here and enter that information, or you can go and, import resources from any of those cloud providers. So here's, an example of one way that we can import virtual machines. As an example here, it brings up basically an Excel template where you can fill out the information, determining what you want to import, and then basically you upload that into the platform. And it would then appear, basically those instances would appear in the infrastructure as a service, single pane of glass dashboard for all the vendors, Azure, AWS, OpenStack, whatever it is. You can see whether it was something that was imported or not, and you can then bring them under management to get all of the operation control you need, managing volumes, networks, etc. Okay. So importing, when you think, I think it's very important to make sure that you're addressing those brownfield situations. Because oftentimes customers don't feel the pain until they feel the pain, right? They actually have to have too many cloud services and virtual machines in multiple clouds before they start to want to address that pain by calling on someone like you. And so being able to handle those brownfields is very important. Looking at additional managed services you can offer. So, this here is a storefront. This could be something that you allow your customers to access directly, or maybe as part of a managed service, this is more of your control panel where you're coming through and doing things on their behalf. Maybe those customers would find some value in, for only certain users, to be able to see certain catalog items. Maybe, finance needs to be something different from sales, for instance. Here, we have the ability to define multiple departments. In this demo, I only have one. But with each of the departments there, you can, view the details and see what are the services available to that department, and, maybe add or remove them as needed so that you can guarantee the right groups of people are able to see the right things in the catalog. That's sort of what I call a catalog policy. And these are all, as you can tell, they're going to be unique. So this could be, company A. It could be your other client, company B, has a similar screen, but they have a completely different set of departments and catalogs around that. You'd expose a master catalog to those stores, and then for each of those stores, you pick from that master catalog what you want to bring in, and then within that set, you then can break that down into what can each department see. That's, I think, an important functionality you need to have. You can also have various policies around, let's look at a cost-saving policy. Maybe your client is spending a lot on Azure, and they do a lot of dev test in the cloud, and on weekends, dev test really isn't working. Maybe that's the scenario. So that one way to save a pretty good amount of money is to turn off any machines that are dev test related on Fridays and turn them back on Mondays. So with the policy engine like we have in our platform here, you can do that. Basically add a new policy, give it a name and a description, and then pick the set of policy for any instances. So filter by, this is important, giving you the ability to select only those virtual machines that you want to affect. This could be a tag that says, type equals dev test, whatever you like. You can standardize on whatever values you like, enter those filtering criteria, and then choose at that point to do a calendar policy. That would happen, as an example, maybe weekly on a Friday. Scroll down here. Friday, maybe at 4 p.m., I could then go and, maybe stop the server, right? And then also maybe send an email notification if you like. You could also then create, an additional policy for on Mondays to turn those back on, okay? As you can see that. Some other value add you could be bringing to is helping to automatically resize the applications that they might have deployed in Azure or other clouds. And so, using an instance monitoring capability, either with our onboard and included monitoring engine, or with your own, or with even the client's own. And if you're using external monitoring, you just use some APIs to do this. But using our platform with the embedded one, you basically could take an event like maybe when the memory utilization goes above 80% for 5 samples in 10 minutes, then you want to maybe increase scale up ramp. And if it goes, below for a certain amount of time, you scale it back down. And so being able to dynamically resize, whether it's scale up and increasing the size of the machine in some way, or scale out, basically adding machines to clusters. Both of those are available with policy, with the policies that we have in our platform. Looking further at some of that, some of the governance capabilities and some of the value add you can bring around helping to make sure that the client is spending the money wisely, and really giving visibility into what they're spending on, again, in a unified format, not having to go to 5 different cloud providers and get a report from each one and try to correlate it all, but having one specific dashboard like this IaaS dashboard here. We can see the overall cloud expenses over whatever period you like. You use different attributes if you like. You get current and estimated usage for the month, and then look at maybe top 5 instances, top 5 products, those sorts of things. Get a view of what's actually running, get some more detailed usage data from any particular vendor you like. Having the ability to, to get those sorts of analytics around what they're deploying and how they're being used, what's popular and what's not, I think can be very valuable when it comes to, some governance and cost management there. All right, so let's take a look now. We'll go back to our back end and take a look at, more of the back end business aspects that you as an MSP care about. You're reselling services. Sometimes you're just selling your own. You need to have the pricing support to identify what are your costs, what are the wholesale prices. If there's a minimum retail price you need to set, what is that? And then what are the actual sale price? And so taking a look at the different services, let me find one here, maybe this Dynamics 365. I'll take a quick look. In addition to all the sort of marketing and the descriptions of how you want to appear in the catalog, you can look at the different offers that are available. And then, we'll take a look at this first one here, the Dynamics. And say, okay, this could be, with each of the products, it could be different pricing models. It depends on the vendor, and it depends on how you want to offer it. You pay as you go, pay per user. It could be a month-to-month subscription or a term subscription, the minimum term, those sorts of things. And then here's where we get into the pricing information. In this case, it's price per user. There's a minimum quantity of 500. And you can look at, it's paid monthly. Could be, other periods if you like. Is there a setup fee involved? Do I prorate that first month? These are all important controls to have when you're trying to define the pricing and understand your costs. Then you can look at the cost from the vendor. Maybe this costs per user $50. But then you want to offer that out to the different portals or stores, offer to them at $60. Maybe you charge $68 as a minimum retail. And then the store owner themselves or the person controlling that portal can then define what are the actual prices. Maybe they need to charge an uplift to handle some overhead, or maybe they just take, whatever the minimum price they're allowed to take. You have the ability to define the different tiers of pricing. There's these single prices. There's these sort of the default prices that you would have for those services. But if you also want to have special prices, maybe with special contracts with different clients, you can do that by basically picking out here. In this case, it's called a reseller. These labels can easily change. But it could be another portal, another client. You pick them, and then you go and set the slightly different prices for that client because they have a different contract. Right? So that's really, we'll talk about custom price books or custom line cards. There's definitely some capabilities to do that. Promotions, maybe you want to have, a free 30-day trial, something that either automatically gets purchased at the end or terminates. Various support around adding different types of promotions and trials. It's important to have that built in. Order management functionality, obviously. If there's different types of orders, you want to fulfill part of it. Maybe it's a bundle and it takes some time to deliver one part. Maybe it's a hardware delivery. You'd be able to manage those orders. Maybe even supply some discounts, those sorts of things. Those are all important. When you look at what you need to do on an ongoing business basis, regardless of the services you're selling, you need to understand, who to pay and what to collect from everybody, right? And so If you're doing things with credit cards, that's obviously going to be, what you're going to be collecting from the clients is going to be handled through that merchant account. But if you have PO-based solutions, you have a pre-approved credit an agreement with your clients, you need to be able to handle that, and you need to know what you need to be collecting from them on that monthly basis or quarterly basis, whatever it may be. So running a settlement report is one way to help us understand everything from soup to nuts. What were our costs, and what did we charge the client, so what do we get back for that? So if I go ahead and run this report here quickly, we'll basically get a settlement report in a CSP format that's going to show us the different costs involved at the different levels, where they were purchased, etc. This is one report that we use to be able to bring that out. And whoops, there we go. It's spelled a little bit slow. So looking at some of the data you get in this report is, what is the store, what is the storefront, any resellers involved, who's the actual customer, order number, invoice number, the date, what the invoice amount was, etc. And you have a ton of data in here, right? So you can really provide any financial analysis, sort of different ways, group things so that that a Veraware needs to be repaid a certain amount. You can look at the retail pricing, any taxes involved. You can look at wholesale amounts, etc. So these settlement reports are ways to help you manage your business, manage the supply chain, and the costs involved there. The last thing I'd like to show, I'm going to hand this back to Ash really quickly, is at the store level, if you have the clients going and using this themselves, they can also get a look at what their chargeback are. And this is really some of the value you're bringing, right? You're bringing a unified bill. They could be purchasing things from Microsoft. They could be purchasing things from other vendors, Amazon, Averware, Motzi, etc. You have the ability to show invoices within the platform. If you just want to use our invoice system, that's great. You have the ability to show these sort of multi-vendor single bills, regardless of however many services, whether they're software as a service with a recurring payment fee or a usage-based service like Azure or Amazon. You can do that with the chargebacks or invoices functionality within our platform. But that's not the only way to do it. If you already have an advanced billing system and you want to get daily bill feeds to that, that's certainly something we can do. And then you can have the custom invoicing that you're already doing today, just add the cloud services into that and handle those things the way you want. So I think those are all really important. I talked about differentiating yourself by having different types of services and the flexibility around the costing and pricing and billing models. That's important. Handling various identity management schemes. You need to be flexible there and support the different ways that your clients want to work, whether it's Active Directory or some federation service. Getting handle both greenfield and brownfield, obviously, getting all the markets available to you. And then look at all the different managed services you're offering, whether it's migrations or actually running the brokerage as a managed service. That's another one we see that's a common model as well, where you're actually doing all this for the client. They're just accessing the applications. They don't have to think about any of it. That's some real value for them. And obviously you need to have all the financial tools to understand what your costs are, what you need to pay out. You need to be integrated to your payment gateways if you handle credit cards and tax systems. Our platform has done that with many currencies and many tax systems over just about every continent except maybe Antarctica. I don't think there's anybody there. So that's it. With that, I'll hand it back to you, Ash, to have a couple others.
Thank you, Bob. Really awesome demo. So let's go back here and talk a little bit about I think great demo. I think let's continue the discussion on this one. I think we talked about the partners, we saw some of the discussions Bob did about how we can add value, but I want to capture that a little bit more in depth here. And so that's really the last topic today to cover in this in five minutes or so that we got here. So how do you move up the value chain for your customers, right? One thing is that you are offering them, reselling them Microsoft cloud services, which is great. You have an opportunity to monetize there. But how can I differentiate? How can I add more value to my customer's business so that I become indispensable? That's really the discussion I want to have here. And essentially, I think one thing I want to kind of paradigm set here, just change that a little bit in the mindset here for the partners is, traditionally, or at least what we're looking for typically is a greenfield kind of customer, somebody who has never deployed cloud, but know that the cloud, the scale economies or the cloud economics make sense, want to go there. Sure, there's definitely an opportunity there for the greenfield, but I think there is an opportunity right now today with a lot of brownfield kind of customers. And what that means is, and Bob touched upon that a little bit, it's really the customers who have already adopted the cloud in some form or shape in some part of their business. It could be the cloud, the shadow IT, as we call it. It could be somewhere out there where they have been using these VMs out of Amazon or Azure, or they might be using Office 365 subscriptions, and it's not even in the knowledge of the IT. But now that IT is getting kind of visibility into that, maybe through the finance and other departments, they want to have the control or governance over it. But there's no governance on it. I mean, who's responsible for the compliance for the company? Traditionally, it's IT. Who's going to govern the policies for the company in terms of the IT infrastructure? It's IT. And you don't have that visibility because you have lost that control in the beginning. But that's why I think there's a brownfield opportunity where you can engage with your customers who are already deploying cloud or using cloud. Could be for DevOps, could be for dev test, could be for some skunk work projects, right? For whatever it might be, you can start using a governance practice. You can start working with them to create a governance practice today, right? And simple things such as Azure Cloud cost management as an example, right? Bob talked about that. You can just curtail saying cloud cost is an issue for a lot of these enterprises. Every customer out there, basically, it looks very small, but it spirals up very quickly, and it has to be managed, right? And that's why I think there's an opportunity right there. We talked about the tools, about the policy engine that we got. That's one option. AD/ADFS integration, security is an issue. Right? You can talk about, do you want to put all of your, customer, all your user, or your employees, all your, profiles for all of your employees and the credentials all in the cloud? Sure, you should do that if you're going to use ADFS or something like that, or Okta for some reason. But if you want to really keep that in-house because you're not sure, you have compliance issues, you have other restrictions, then you can certainly manage something through a proxy as a managed services could do. That could go and plug into the ADFS that's on premises, but manage that for the cloud services that's been offered as a managed service. So something along what Bob talked in the demo. You can create just to begin with, like I said, you don't have to wait for spinning up the VMs by the customer. If they want to spin it up, just bring them on, import it, like Bob talked about again. You can get right away started for your governance by bringing the Office 365 subscriptions or the Azure VMs in that sense, right? And last but not least, in this particular case, for kind of building more governance practices, MSP practice. We can talk about building monitoring, configuration, analytics reports, SLA monitoring. All of this could be part of your governance practice for your managed services business, right? And this is where I think Microsoft, you see the messaging clearly that you resell but add value to your customers with managed services. So I mean, managed services hasn't just been a domain of a few companies. Now it's becoming epidemic at the partner level too, right? And beyond that, moving up the value chain, what you can do is upsell opportunities. Because we have a catalog where the SKUs are all listed out there and there are different feature sets, what you get or what you pay for, you can certainly have a customer calling saying, hey, I'm looking for this, or this is not just working out for me, I need a bigger or this kind of feature set. There's your upsell opportunity right there, right? It's a catalog you have it, it's just a matter of talking to it and just moving it up the notch, right? Simple as that. Cross-sell opportunities, we talked about, just not offering them what Microsoft services are out there, but offering anything and everything that is complementary, right, to those services. So be the complementary SaaS services or other cloud providers. There's a AWS plus one prediction right now, and you're already seeing that happening. Nobody just banking on one cloud provider yet. XaaS as option might be future upcoming things. You may want to think about those and see how you can offer that to your customers. Just to recap here on the upsell and cross-sell, this is the kind of the breadth of the portfolio of different SaaS services, IaaS services that we have already built into Jamcracker. And you can see that on the SaaS side, at the top cloud services catalog for SaaS offerings, there's apps that are all in different verticals, right? You can talk about, for example, collaboration app like a WebEx, or a CRM app like Salesforce, or you can talk about communications app like Skype for business, or you can talk about Google Apps. I mean, maybe there's a lot of different varieties of apps out there. They're all being consumed on demand, and you can bundle them, you can sell them through this catalog to Jamcracker platform because we have pre-built integrations with all these different kind of SaaS services. Same thing goes for IaaS, right? You can do that for also, not just the public cloud options like Amazon and IBM SoftLayer or Google Cloud Platform. You can also do it for the private cloud, such as VMware OpenStack. I mean, you really want to offer a multi-cloud and a hybrid cloud, options to your customers, and not just be stuck in one particular domain. Right? That's really very important for your customers. We're running out of time here. I know we're at the top of the hour, but I'm going to wrap up with a couple more slides here, and I'm going to talk about why managed services really is important. This is a survey that Gartner ran. About 700 companies were surveyed, all sizes of enterprises. And what they found out was enterprises where, when it comes to cloud adoption, enterprises wanted to spend on few things, and managed services happen to be up on the chart at number 3, with 40% of the customers saying we want to spend on managed services. Out of that 40%, 70% saying this is our first spend item. So just think about it, like managed services definitely is a viable business opportunity that's, you should be you're kind of just taking advantage of. And what are the different managed services options? Just on the IS side of things, this is a pretty busy slide. I apologize for that. But what I wanted to kind of quickly take away from it is there's ideas that you can look at and say, just from the access management side of things, or service management, or service optimization bucket. These are the different areas where you could create a package for managed services and offer it to your end customers, right? Identity platform integration is one thing, and the access management we talked about. We talked about just budgets and approval workflows. Like your customers want some sort of budgets and approvals when those requests will be coming in to you as a managed services provider. You could say grant it based on whatever policies has been set by the customer, end customer. Just an example, right? Services management side of things, you can talk about analytics. You can talk about a cataloging service there. On service optimization, we talked about policy control, cost control, building app stacks. We didn't touch upon that quite a lot, but essentially you can build specific stacks of different applications as multi-tier applications that you can offer as a service, right, to your end customer. That could be a service optimization there. A number of opportunities. Here's an example of, and we'll wrap it up in a couple of minutes. I apologize for running over time. We can see, for example, that you can charge on a line-by-line item, now drilling down further from the earlier chart I showed. So you can say, okay, if you want to charge for compute just for provisioning, you can charge for virtual machine provisioning or a container service if you want to do that, things of that nature. You can charge them for whatever monthly rate you think is right and whatever SLA that you can guarantee, right, for this customer for servicing those needs, right, for those requests. Storage, you can do that. For backup restore along with storage, also your compute instances. You can do that for networking. If you're looking at building up the network or servicing any networking related service requests, you can build a practice around that. And that is just something that I talked about with respect to configuration. There's monitoring tasks such as you can monitor the CPU utilization, the disk reads and writes, network I/O throughput, and all of that can be also built into your managed services practice. You can have a packaging done in a way that your customers really get value out of it. And this is just the beginning. So I just want to talk about that quickly, that you are just starting to see the cloud taking off with Azure adding multiple different options, different new modules every day. AWS already out of the roof with respect to how many different modules they got with all different things. All of these are your opportunities as you start scaling once you have the foot in the door to kind of build up and grow from there. Same thing also applies for OpenStack and other private clouds. So just a quick takeaway overall from what we learned today is, the Microsoft CSP program is happening right now. There's momentum that we see in the market. There's customers who are already looking forward to CSPs helping them out. And so this is your opportunity. And don't wait for the greenfield. Go for the brownfield if you have those opportunities available. Jamcracker platform, we talked about how we unify the entire lifecycle of the Microsoft Cloud Services, but also the non-Microsoft services regarding the SaaS and IaaS that we talked about. You have opportunities to upsell, cross-sell, as well as to manage services with your customers, right? That will help you to maximize your revenue and profits further, and also add value to your customers end-to-end. And if you need any further help or insights into this presentation, please contact us at info@jamcracker, and or you can go on our website. There's a form field. You can talk a little bit more about your specific needs. And if you are interested in a virtual appliance of our platform for your assessment, let us know. We'll be certainly happy to work with you on that. So with that, I just want to wrap it up.